2021 is coming to a close with several high-profile legal cases that we have covered closely closing themselves. So, what is on deck for 2022? Joining us now, CNN senior legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Elie Honig with his top 5 legal stories to follow in the new year. Elie, what you got?
Well, John, first of all, the case against the former Minneapolis police officers for the murder of George Floyd is not over yet. The biggest single moment of 2021 in legal news was the trial of Derek Chauvin. Derek Chauvin, of course, was convicted by a jury in Minneapolis for the murder of George Floyd, and then he pled guilty to federal charges. He's now going to be behind bars for the next 2 decades or so. But the trial of the other 3 officers is right around the corner. The federal trial for deprivation of George Floyd's civil rights starts in just a few weeks in January, followed immediately by the state trial. John, there's real risk here for both sides. This is going to be a trickier trial for prosecutors, and these 3 defendants have to beat 2 different trials, which is extraordinarily hard to do. We could see plea talks. If so, they're going to have to happen soon because these trials are right around the corner.
Yeah, they are right around the corner. But we also have this series of ongoing Justice Department investigations. So what should we be looking for as we approach the new year?
Yeah, Caitlin, 3 very high-profile DOJ investigations with potential political ramifications. Matt Gaetz, the congressman from Florida, under investigation for potential sex trafficking crimes. We know they flipped his associate Joel Greenberg, but that was 7 months ago. We've not really heard anything since then. Hunter Biden announced during 2021 that he was under investigation for potential tax fraud crimes in Delaware. If he's charged, that'll create an unprecedented situation. Imagine the son of the sitting president being prosecuted by DOJ. And finally, Rudy Giuliani under investigation by his own former office, my former office, the Southern District of New York, for potential foreign lobbying violations. They did a search warrant on Rudy, but again, that was 8 months ago. We haven't heard anything since. These are 3 major shoes we'll be waiting to see if they drop in 2022.
We will be looking to see if those shoes drop indeed. Number 3, we've got former President Donald Trump and his legal troubles. What's the deal?
Yeah, John, it is time for New York prosecutors, the AG and the DA, to fish or cut bait on this one. They've been dragging this case out for 3 years. They've indicted the Trump org. No one goes to jail for that. They indicted one executive on a tax fraud scheme. They're now reportedly shifting their focus over to this valuation question. How did the Trump organization value its assets? Ultimately, though, there's been a lot of talk out of New York State prosecutors on this case, but very little action. You never know what prosecutors have behind closed doors, but there's no specific indication at this point that they have a case against Donald Trump himself. Worth noting, there's a new district attorney in Manhattan taking office this week. He will inherit this case, and it'll be up to him to decide where it ultimately goes.
It's quite something to inherit when you've just taken a new job, but we'll see how that plays out. And Elliot, number 2, we do have a major case coming down from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, Caitlin, this will redefine abortion rights in the United States. This involves a Mississippi law that essentially makes it impossible for a woman to get an abortion in that state, directly contrary to Roe versus Wade, which has been on the books since 1973. Now, this case was argued to the Supreme Court earlier in December. I listened to that argument. Now, remember, it's a 6-3 conservative majority on the court right now. From listening to the argument, it sounds like at least 5 of the conservative justices do want to uphold that Mississippi law. The question is, will they outright strike down Roe versus Wade, or will they find some softer middle ground to land in? This is going to redefine the landscape of abortion rights, Caitlin. Enormous consequences here. They'll decide this by the end of the term, which is in June of 2022.
High stakes. We'll see if stare decisis means anything, actually. Finally, Elie, number 1, what is your number 1 legal story to watch in 2022?
Of course, it is the ongoing investigation of January 6th. There's so many tentacles here. We've got civil suits. We've got the pending prosecution of Steve Bannon. We've got other potential prosecutions of Mark Meadows and other witnesses. We've got DOJ bringing 700-plus cases against the rioters. We are going to see public hearings this year from the committee. We are going to get their final report this year from the committee. The biggest single question to me, though, in all of this, John and Caitlin, is where is Merrick Garland? Where is the Justice Department when it comes to the real power players, to Donald Trump and the other people who are behind the efforts to steal the election, behind the efforts to obstruct Congress's counting of the electoral votes, and potentially behind the January 6th riot itself? That, to me, is the single biggest question as we head into 2022. Where's Merrick Garland and where is the Justice Department?
Well, and Elie, quickly before we let you go, I think that is a big question because we're coming up on that 1-year anniversary. We're less than a week away, and we haven't really heard a lot from them. So what do you expect? Should people actually be expecting something from the Attorney General on this?
I've not seen much from Merrick Garland that leads me to believe he's looking at Donald Trump in any serious way, Caitlin, and people want and deserve accountability here. And I think if DOJ doesn't at least open an investigation of Donald Trump and others behind this, I think it's really a miscarriage of prosecutorial responsibility there.
Wow. We'll wait to see what they do. Elie Honig, thank you, and I hope you have a great 2022.
Happy New Year, my friend.